Welcome to the Walker Talker. 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 So let's get to talking.
I was muted.
Yeah, we were muted the whole time right there.
Well,
Thank you, Platinum Productions. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties with my stream health right now, too.
you just switched up to new stuff.
All right, we're back now. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I had to reset up all my production stuff with my computer crashing earlier this week. So,
Shall we roll the film one more time?
yeah, let's go ahead and roll what we missed here. Sorry about that, guys.
One of our favorite moments of episode 6. And there you have it.
And here
Enjoy.
it is again. Yeah, we apologize about that, guys. Thank you for calling it out in the chat, though. We really appreciate that. Oh, yeah. So Mud doesn't stand a chance there. Not at all.
There's your toothpick, buddy. Chew on that.
Right?
That was a mix of actual practical effects as well as CG. They showed a little making of that in the after show.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see the after show, the
They
Talking
laid,
Dead, so.
well, if you didn't as well, let me explain real quick. They laid these pipes, like, connected all around the people that were laying down sleeping.
Right.
And, you know, the pipes had little slits, and there was basically a gas pipe, so they were shooting flames through all those slits. So then they added the computer graphics on top of that. And then they also had a few scenes with, of course, the jelly and I'm on fire.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
typical
Yeah, stuntman action.
stuntman action, yeah.
Right. All right, so that was an exciting scene. So let's kind of work our way to it via discussion, shall we, Pete?
Yeah, why not?
Starting with a synopsis.
Sure. Well, you know, the best way to explain a synopsis is there's two halves. And that would be, one, Michonne and Judith and that whole gang in Alexandria and their decisions they have to make, because it's the first time they have new people come in a long, long time. And Michonne's head of security, and she has strict rules. Then the other half is what's going on in the kingdom, especially with, you know, the queen, Carol, and her prince, adopted son, Henry. You know, and then their travels that they take on their way to Hilltop. I think that's the main thing at Hilltop is they're looking for a blacksmith or a plumber or someone to come with or train, right, so they have some more skills there in the kingdom, which is getting pretty decrepit because we're 6 years ahead here.
And speaking of the Hilltop, no Maggie this episode.
No Maggie in this episode, and as well as the collage poster that they have on The Talking Dead, she's not on the poster. She was never mentioned once.
Did they just kind of brush her under the
rug? There are a couple characters like Tara and whatnot that are on that poster that weren't on the episode either. But no Maggie? Are you kidding me?
Interesting.
That should be like one of the main, you know, right?
Right.
It's still season 9.
Quick shout out, the Platinum Production and Olivia Barnes. Thank you guys for joining us live. We really appreciate the support here.
And thanks for babysitting last night.
Who's that?
Olivia, I think. Yes.
Who's oh, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, Olivia.
Shout out to you. It's too bad she's not caught up on the show, but you know, feel free to watch the show that's starting any minute now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know. We started
or pause it and then watch us, and then watch the show.
So, pretty interesting. Synopsis continued. Is that about it?
Well, no. Basically, like, you know, 6+ years later, Michonne is talking out loud on a daily affirmation she does for herself. Like she's talking to Rick. She and everyone in the Walking Dead world think Rick's dead. You know, but we know that he's moved on. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do too much spoiler stuff, but, you know, that's how she copes with, you know, moving on and all that. And scavenging, we learn that scavenging is worthless now. Fuel is pretty much depleted. And spearfishing and horseback commute is all that's pretty much left, besides what they have with their farming, which they're doing pretty good with the farming. But Michonne and Daryl are shown going through the motions, because 6 years later they're still miserable after Rick died in their eyes. Right. And, there's little tiny beacons of light. Like Michonne will find a little cowboy figure that looks like Rick, or, she goes to the bridge site to like talk to him as if he was right there and all that. But the main thing is the first scenes are Eugene, Rosita, Aaron, and the others. They find Judith, and Judith has those unfamiliar guests, and they have to decide: do we
Magnus and Co.
Yeah, Magna, who I think that little tattoo she has with the four dots
with the one in the middle,
which is a prison thing, but maybe her prison was being in the middle of the Whispers. And being like one of their slaves.
Maybe that's what the
if you read the comics, it rings a bell.
It's kind of right there.
But who's going to hook up with her? Henry? I think she was a little older than Carl when they hooked up.
Right.
So
they could be building up Henry.
The comic and show, they melt some things overlap, but everything's pretty much based off the comic. But they do whatever they want on the show.
The Otherverse.
How about
some outcomes?
Outcomes, yeah.
Let's talk about them.
I mean, hey, let's talk about the one we just showed you.
Right. So let's do it. So Carol ended up. So there was some outcome within the episode with Rick dying, right? Where there was that standoff at the camp, and we didn't get to see what happened. Obviously, there was some kind of shootout.
Yeah.
And then
a little bit of everybody died. Mud was spared. So, the outcome of that was he tells her, you can keep your horses in an empty wagon.
Right.
But we're taking our Walker chain gang with us to pull all your stuff in our wagon and peace out. Thanks for sparing me. This is my, this is your go pass card, whatever. But,
yeah, she wasn't having it.
She was kind of going to let it go until Henry kind of burst on her about, you told me to fight, for the right thing and all this and that. And so, well, we know the outcome there is she sneaks out in the night and she murders all of them.
Yeah, I mean, like a thug. And
what kind of fuel was she using that they didn't smell? Was there some leftover that corn oil stuff they were making for fuel?
There must have been. Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Because for her to pour it all around,
you would have had to. You would have woke up. It would have been like some smelling salts. Like you just so naturally woke up from smelling that.
How appropriate the dude and his people. They go up in flames via his match that he's always chewing on for like 6 years. He's chewing on a freaking match.
One match. Yeah, who knew it was going to be his downfall? How tragic is that?
Yeah, too bad. See you later, Mud. We're not going to miss you.
So what about the outcome? And we don't know too much about this outcome yet, but of them letting these new people into Alexandria. Via Judith's.
Just like any decision, you have to figure how close is it to nighttime, and they decide to sleep it off because it's so late, and then have a council meeting. So now the outcome of Rick dying is they have a full council to vote on things, and this is a big decision because they've never had to vote on new people in a long, long time. So
they hear what they got to say, and you could tell that at least the guy with the curly hair, his name again,
Luke. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he was kind of putting on a show during that.
I think we already caught him lying. Like I think out in the woods, he's like, I can make an osabuku. I used to be a chef, and then all of a sudden, like, I used to be a music teacher. Education is the best thing. Like, really? Huh?
What were you?
What were you exactly, buddy? Mm-hmm.
Right, and Eugene's like, no, we make stew.
Yeah, and then Magna, she's got like a belt buckle that comes loose, and it's like a Chinese star. And then like her buddy Miko, that's being like looked at in the infirmary. She's got a necklace that also turns into like a dagger or something. Like there's all these hidden
weapons and
tchotchke weapons that they have.
Right.
So I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. That's my opinion on that outcome.
Yeah, it's interesting. And if you are familiar with the comics, you know that Magna is a character that's part of a certain group that's going to be introduced. But those other
what group would you be talking about?
Those other characters that are with her aren't in that group, I don't think.
I think just her, though.
Just her.
Yeah. Little do they know.
But
it's a double whammy.
Yeah, because then there's that group we're talking about also makes an appearance in this episode, and the outcome of that is, we've seen the preview plenty of times as this season was being promoted, and it's the Eugene Rosita mud bath via escaping for their lives via herd, and then hearing her talk.
Finally a good fun horror movie kind of scene.
I did like that.
We've been missing a little bit of that episode up until that, because they were trying to catch us up on what was going on.
There's more action drama.
Okay, well, there's one final outcome I have to talk about.
Yes, let's do it.
Well, RJ. That's right, Rick impregnated Michonne.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a little, 6-year-old boy named RJ.
I got a picture of him somewhere in this slideshow.
Wait, I guess he would be 6 years old. Because we know when...
about 5, 6 years
remember
old.
they talked about the future before they... And next thing you know, there's your future. So there are 2 Grimes out there, but this one's actually blood. Because Judith, I don't think...
Judith isn't blood, no. But, hey, now Rick's got... Yeah, another Grimes, another boy. And I wonder if he will meet him later on down the road.
Yes.
He'll meet his son again.
That's what I'm thinking, that's got to happen. Whether Michonne's around or not, I think he would meet his son at some point in maybe the second of 2 movie installments, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah, after he's been all around the world, chopping Walker heads off. And speaking of around the world... I think this brings us around to fan choice number 1. What? And we got something fun for you guys tonight. We were thinking about it, and what would be kind of a cool little deal to talk about for our fans choice. And, with Rick possibly seeing the world, or us via Rick's movies seeing what the world has to offer via the apocalypse, we wanted to give you guys... some options, maybe some scenarios you can choose from. So, the zombie apocalypse has, just like the Walking Dead world, has encumbered the world. Out of these 3 places, these 3 cities,
there are a lot of places to choose from.
A lot of places.
We might even do fans choice number 1 again and just minus these out and give you 3 others.
Yeah, right. That'd be a pretty cool one to kind of cycle through.
There's a lot to factor in.
Oh, yeah, a lot to factor in. Yeah, climate. Where it's at geographically, the amount of people, the population,
the geology of the actual where you're
right. Even the culture could have a factor via if there's a lot of weapons or no weapons or there's castles or ancient culture present.
Just
stuff
population
like that.
Count. Period.
Right. So
more walkers, more trouble.
Speaking of population, our first city and location in the world that we want to know if you guys would out of these 3 cities, which one would you rather try to survive in the apocalypse? I know it's a kind of a bittersweet question here. You gotta which city to survive in, but which one do you think you would have a better chance of surviving in? Right. So first one, New Delhi, India. All right. I mean, granted it's in India, so the population is immense. All right. You got the city there. You got not only a hot, sticky climate, but also with all those people, that can come with a lot of disease, and I know the rivers around there aren't the cleanest either, so it'd be a challenge for sure. I think that one would be a very difficult city to survive in. But what would you guys think? Would you want to take your chances in India?
Yeah, and even if by the way, I would like you to pick one of these 3 if you want to, or just throw out what you think, even if it's not one of these 3. We'd love to talk about it. So... India, like you said, huge population, infested waters. They dump dead bodies there. Now you're going to have walkers in there too.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be...
then you have dangerous wildlife.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
But you can escape up to the Himalayas.
Right.
Or you could go the other direction and go to Sri Lanka and try to swim to the island and see if that's any safer, which probably isn't.
Think of them as starting points too. I mean, you can kind of expand from these locations to start off with,
Yeah.
So, and speaking of big populations again, we're going to jump into Tokyo, Japan, all right? Now, you could start off there and then you kind of expand out, but again, a lot of people. This time you're in a big, condensed city, though the culture is known for its, martial arts influence. You're going to have a lot of weapons available, but to get out of that city is going to be kind of crazy, and once you're out in the open and out in the countryside, maybe it'll be a little better, but what do you think?
About Tokyo?
Yeah.
Japan in general, so it's a series of islands, and so it's a seafaring country, but it also has mountains. So you have a little bit of, you have options in Japan. But we were talking, Aaron and I were earlier about are there a lot of sword shops or places that keep swords, like in the city, or is that more of like out in the country or whatever? Well, of course, there's probably quite a few, whether it's sporting goods or like, you know, decorative or whatever. It's something to stab a walker through the eye socket with. And you're going to find a lot more there than you would probably at our first spot in India.
Right. And hey, you know, if you get hungry, fish.
Yes.
And then our last city, this fan's choice one is St. Petersburg, Russia.
Yes. So
you're way up north here. You're getting a cold climate.
Mother Russia.
Yeah. So we always talk like we wanted to see some winter scenes with the walkers. You know, would it in fact slow them down because of the cold?
Right. And St. Petersburg is a little bit of a strategic choice because, you know, obviously Russia is vast, Siberia, but like come on. I mean, might as well pick, you know, the Arctic Circle. We were thinking about that, but this way, you're in a cold climate,
right?
But you're in a seafaring city, probably the only one on that side of the country,
right?
Oh yeah, well yes, it is the only one on that side of the country, and you know, you have access to all of Scandinavia right there. You know, so there's that.
I think in Russia too, the access to weapons.
There's also cold walkers, which would probably move a lot slower.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like walking through the.
I think weapons would be easy to find in Russia too, whether it be guns or, you know, melee weapons. Yeah. So I think all in all, that would be a pretty good choice. Yeah, I mean, between that and Japan, I mean, it's pretty close. I would love trying to survive in Japan, but hey, you never know. It could be pretty wild there. But hey, we got a friend that could help us answer this, and maybe he'll come out if I call his name here. Jackson, get your ass out here. Oh. What are you doing down there, Jackson? It's enough. We gotta keep your dome up here. Okay?
Next week, Jackson's going to, I think, rise to the heavens and not come back till the second half of the season begins.
Yeah, he hasn't dropped from the sky in a while.
What you got there, buddy?
Oh! All right, so fan's choice number one is. Come on now. Oh man, Jackson, why don't you wash up every once in a while? Mother Russia.
Mother Russia.
So yeah. I think that's a wise choice there, Jackson. Russia for sure. You can expand out. It's a big landmass. You can start off pretty good, I think. Yeah, it would be cold up there, but just dress in layers, baby. Dress in layers, and I think you'd be good to go. After that, wouldn't you agree, Pete?
I would say so. I mean, I think that you just have more options there to survive. Period. The others are a little too dangerous. Maybe next week we'll talk about other continents, you know. We've got Australia, New Zealand, and South Pacific Islands and places like that. We've got Southeast Asia. We have South America. But we're not going to talk anymore about North America anymore because with the Walking Dead world already really giving us a good idea of what's going on in Mexico, U.S., and Canada, what's next? But Rick Grimes goes where?
Right.
It's pretty exciting.
All around the world. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump into a discussion about some of the characters, particularly in this episode, their interactions, and what they kind of did to drive this episode forward.
Yeah. Well, Carol, how about her? I'll start off.
All right,
we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I'll kind of go over kind of that character in this episode. And now Queen Carol and adopted son Prince Henry are 6 years into the future, and, you know, it's in a deteriorating kingdom. Like, that shit's falling apart. And Carol is now more like a hippie queen sorceress of the outer realm with the freaking hair, though.
Oh, yeah, right.
But, well, at least she looks the part. You know, perhaps call her the apocalyptic elf or something. I don't know.
Right.
But, you know, Carol rides off with Henry via the horse carriage to Hilltop for possibly a blacksmith or a plumber or something like that.
It's pretty much her son at this point. Is how she sees it.
And he calls her mom, and she calls Ezekiel dad.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So Carol takes Henry to on a detour though towards Hilltop, and it's like off the grid of their like map, which is like, I know where I'm going. And what happens is, there's Mud himself, Jed, and the last of his group, you know, and they basically mug her, and they take her ring. And she's like, you know, whatever, you're going to spare the horses? That's fine, I'll take it. But, you know, Henry flips out on her while they're setting up camp for the night. and talks about, well, he's what is he quoted? He says, that's right, stand for what is correct and fight against what is wrong, kind of thing. So once he went to bed, she's like, all right, I'll take care of business.
Right.
And well, you know what happens after that. It's a walk-off scorcher scene.
Oh, yeah,
walk-off scorcher, and I like that.
Oh, and she walks away, too. I got a picture of it in here somewhere where she's walking away. It's
I might as well have done it in slow motion.
Right.
Make it a little
big
extra
explosion in back, total lethal weapon mode, so...
The irony, though, is the next morning, Henry said, apologized to her. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. She's like, yeah, I just killed all those dudes for you. Never mind. She keeps it inside. That's what Carol does. Who else should we talk about? Should we talk about Michonne because everything she's gone through, or just go down the... I know what. How about Eugene?
Okay, let's talk about ponytail braid Eugene now.
Let's talk about Eugene. Well, Eugene is with Rosita, and he's helping her.
No, he's not with Rosita, because now Rosita's with Gabriel.
Gabriel is a playa, but you know what? So is Rosita, though. Think about
she's a player for sure.
All the dudes she hooked up with, or at least flirted with.
Oh yeah.
Spencer,
Big Red,
Big Red, Abe there, and then there was no strings attached with all these things. So she's friends with benefits with Gabriel as of now. That's what I see it as. And whatever, good for that. Good for him. Good for the one-eyed reverend.
Yeah, right. But then later, Rosita is with
he's Episcopalian. Eugene. It's all right.
And Eugene actually, I think, tries to kind of confess his love for her.
He does. Matter of fact, I got a Eugene quote. He's like, machete-wielding men of the cloth with zero depth perception are not a dime a dozen. I'll give you that. But that's not to say that there aren't other more viable selects available to you. Selects with equally distinctive qualities and belief systems firmly rooted in facts and science and not fables and fairy tales, generally speaking. And she's like, generally speaking? You mean like who? He goes, generally speaking. He was basically putting himself on the block like, my science version of him is the same. I can slash and dash now. And he is. Yeah. So Eugene is now... like a seasoned walker killer. Like, he can take out 4 or 5 on his own with ease.
And he gets after it.
With just one knife. He's got it.
And not only does he get after it killing walkers, he gets after it climbing water towers to put up the radio and stuff.
Gabriel's big dream was, because he found with that other doctor back in the day, Dr. Carson, whatever, the radio stuff and equipment in that shed, which is actually like straight out of the comic. But I guess they took all that stuff back to Alexandria, and he kind of gave up on it, wasn't working.
Right.
But then, Eugene, who's always thinking big.
Right.
He's like, there are water towers that are like skyscrapers out there practically.
Yeah.
Like, let's see what we can find. And Rosita went along with him, and he took that carriage ride as to his advantage, at least tried to, until, walkers came from out of nowhere, even though they tracked the walkers going eastbound, and that tower was west. He even said, he's like, they made a U-turn, like,
yeah,
that
it's like
never happens.
Right.
It's as if they were herded, but how do you herd numbers that big? In that kind of a swamped move where you're going through trees and stuff. This isn't like Follow Me Down the Road like old Walking Dead episode.
This is like you must be within the belly of the beast. Yes. A wolf in sheep's clothing, perhaps.
Oh, brilliant, my friend.
So, speaking of wolves in sheep's clothing, let's talk about maybe the new characters a little bit.
Sure. Well, you know what? Wolf in sheep's clothing or not, I have to mention one thing here.
Yes, sir.
And you know what? I won't. I'll do it in appreciations.
Okay.
So the new character's Magna. There she is right there.
Right there. Right.
And she's the stout fellow with the beard is Luke. And then Miko, you don't see her too much in this episode because
she got the long black hair, right?
She looks like she could be like Native American or of Asian descent, and but she had the head wound and was in infirmary with Sadiq while the rest of them were in holding, waiting for the big council meeting where Gabriel was a badass in that scene.
He was.
I mean, the words he picked and the Michonne with because you know what. Everything we learned about them was probably bullshit.
Yeah, well, especially because afterwards they talked
Kelly and Connie were probably honest.
They were pretty honest, and the half-death but later in the night when they were in that room by themselves, you could tell that all what they said was bullshit. When they were like, blah, 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 talking. Especially the Luke guy. He was like, that's when you told he showed his true colors.
Oh, yeah, for real. But the thing is that you can't trust anyone, and
Right.
that scene of them talking about like, oh, ho hum this and that, and the music they played, they underlaid, it kind of was pretty corny, and I didn't like it.
Yeah,
That was
I
the
agree.
only thing I have to complain about that one. But then the scene was saved. Michonne stood up, said her piece, and then went out, and of course, like, then our new character here was like, well, I have a question for you. She's like, nope, like, not answering anything.
But then she tried to get her trust back later by after they revealed they had the weapons and the necklaces and stuff. She went and knocked on Michonne's door and gave her the thing.
Got a little visitor there, buddy. Yeah, main thing is,
Hey, Rob Street. We don't appreciate this kind of comments in our chat there. But anyway, yeah. So Magda ended up giving Michonne these weapons and telling her you missed this, and kind of as a way of showing her like you can trust us. So I thought that was interesting. But real quick too, another mention of characters. What about this guy right here, Negan and Judith? Their interaction, their inevitable relationship.
That's actually pretty much one of the appreciations I had, because Judith,
We'll slide into that.
she's like doing her math homework, and she's asking him about this like equation with two planes going this direction and that, and he's like, what's the point? Like, I'd choose plane C because the other two are going to collide or something. He's like, are you ever going to hear or see a plane? She's like, probably not. He goes, then why don't you give me an equation that has to do with now?
Yeah, right here, right now, practical stuff.
And she's like, you know what, whatever. He goes, well, why can you do math with me but not talking about other stuff? She goes, well, because the numbers don't care about you.
Right.
And she like basically constructively like called him a loser a couple of different times. So.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man. I appreciate that too, man. And I think that, you know, she has the Grimes attitude. Even though she might not be Grimes blood, she definitely carries the Grimes demeanor. You know.
Yes.
She certainly does, and a little Michonne.
And by the way, that actress is she played young Rey from Star Wars.
Oh, okay, yeah,
like
yeah.
When there was like they showed a younger version of her.
That sounds familiar.
It's the same little actress, and you know, the whole crew's all the dither about her. But it makes you wonder if she's only going to be around for this season. They might have another jump, later on.
They could.
Who knows?
I would like to say I really appreciate the Tree Walker this episode.
The Tree Walker was amazing, especially with the CG bird.
Okay.
It had to have been a CG bird. It was beautiful, though.
I liked the CG bird when it landed on the walker.
It took a worm out of its ear or its neck or something. I didn't
like the CG bird when they showed it feeding in the nest.
Why?
I don't know. It just was...
That almost brought a tear to my eye because Daryl was like... That's the one beacon of light he saw in that opening scene.
I like the essence of it. It's just the CG was just kind of like
yes.
But I really appreciated the practical effects of the
pop
walker.
of color amongst all the dead shit everywhere was the point. I think
Right.
The little pop, the little brightness.
But I loved it. You know, it's something cool. I love that. That's like something happened where he got trapped there, and then the tree grew over him. And he's still there. I mean, to the point where worms and other creatures are probably like living, you know, symbiotically within the walker now. He's like like one of the a tree in the forest that's like, you know, fallen over and is a whole habitat for tons of insects.
Greg Nicotero got a picture from one of the other guys in his staff of a tree that like was growing around a bicycle, like someone had wedged it, and then it like grew around a real old bicycle, and that was the inspiration for this actual walker.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Right on. Man.
Oh, and also, here's another little appreciation, and did you know, the kid that's playing Henry at this age is the older brother of the kid that played Henry last season. Who's also, they are both brothers of, their sister is the girl that played Sophia in season 1 and 2. Well, 2, she just,
Interesting little, like, behind the scenes, casting there. It's interesting. Works. Yeah. Oh, nice. I appreciate that too, Pete. Yeah. I appreciate that too. Thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that.
That's pretty cool because
I do like that.
When they're all older and this is all over with, like they can like reflect back and like they were all in The Walking Dead. You know, they're all a big part of it, and they all had this connection with Carol specifically.
Right. Yeah, I like that a lot. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump into Fans Choice 2, which you know how that is, guys. The following week, we couldn't really give you much.
Because we knew of a time jump, we didn't know what to expect. We had to feel it out, kind of like a boxing match. Like,
but this week, now since we're a little established, we can kind of throw some stuff out there. So, who do you guys think is going to go next? Now, since we made this time skip 6 years later, who's next?
Well, first off, I hope there's not already a next, and it's Maggie. Like, are they gonna just like finally get to Hilltop and be like, oh yeah, Maggie, she's gone.
She died like 3 years ago.
Or she got in a helicopter with a marked letter A.
Right? Are they gonna explain that? And maybe that's how they'll do it. That's a good one to put. So is it Maggie? Is she
could
already?
Be just because I'm jumping the gun because we still have one more episode before the mid-season finale is next. So is next week. Sorry,
next week. Right? It's coming up, guys. What about one of the group members that came with Magna? Not Magna herself, but maybe
Kelly and
Connie, or Miko. One of those.
I think they're legit. I don't think I trust Miko totally. I don't
You
know.
think either one of those might just get off for some reason?
I have this weird feeling that like Miko might have more of a connection to Magna than the rest of the group. Especially they both share things like, little tchotchke things that are actual weapons and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not sure like if Luke was telling the truth or not, because he said at first it was Magna and Miko, and then they found these two, and then they found me, and then da-da-da. But it is interesting though how they talked about their journey a little bit, but I would have to say maybe one of them is going to die right away. Maybe not, because in the previews it kind of seems like they're all converging towards Hilltop. You got Daryl and Carol going there now with Henry. The three of them have met up. Mm-hmm. And then you have Michonne escorting or, chauffeuring the new group to see if they can take shelter there instead.
Right.
So, and then you've got Eugene and Rosita that are probably running that direction away from the Whisperers.
So do you think either one of them will die?
I think maybe, Eugene's got an injured knee. And he might hide or something, but I think Rosita. I think Eugene might make it.
Rosita would be kind of a mid-ground fair game.
They kind of show her with like a head wound or blood, like running by herself. I think. So I don't know. Maybe, he got away with getting caught. I don't know. We'll see. I think she's on the chopping block.
So okay, who we got then? Who do we got? You guys think Maggie maybe because she's kind of gone? Maybe she already died in that time gap 3 years ago in the 6-year time gap. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe she left with that chick that keeps coming back. What's her face? Georgie.
Oh yeah, maybe she did.
Maybe because apparently according to Jesus, like she keeps coming and asking, like, "You want to come with? You want to come with?" And Maggie's like, "Nope, nope, nope." But maybe somewhere in that time gap, she's like, "Okay."
Or maybe one of the new people who getting brought into Alexandria with Magna gets off, just to kind of trim the fat, so to speak.
So that's a good collection of possibilities,
right? And or Rosita. That would be, I think, a pretty substantial person to go. That wouldn't be too heavy, but it wouldn't be so insignificant. We're like, oh yeah, well, okay. Yeah. It'd be kind of like, oh fuck, it'd be kind of crazy.
I don't think they're gonna trim the fat off like they did in this episode we're reviewing now. Where like Carol just took out like all those, like there was like 8 to 10 saviors there that were the last of the sanctuary, and that was proof, by the way, that the sanctuary had fallen, and then they still tried to like make it their homeless home, and that didn't work out, and so they went off grid, and that's how Carol bumped into them.
So you guys are
right there.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's the shot.
There's the walk off right
that's so
there.
Great. So we know you guys. The show's already started for a lot of you guys, so we're going to be closing this out soon. But let's go ahead and give you a preview of the episode if you're still hanging on here with us tonight, and we'll check it out and kind of give us our last thoughts for the night here. Let me close this slide out where I can find it. There we go, and we'll go ahead and throw the preview up there for you guys. Boy, only 2 episodes left.
Hey, let's see if there's Maggie in any of these.
I know, I'm going to get a close look there. Sadiq, we didn't really talk about him, but he's kind of just, he's the doctor now. That's pretty much him.
Yep.
Same with Aaron and And Jesus, yeah, still no Maggie from what I'm seeing. Is that going to be their excuse to write her out? Is she's just going to be, not even a lot that happened in that preview altogether. But this is what they're going to do. They're just going to write her out that way by just going back and forth to Georgie and then eventually either dying or just living over there and we don't see her again. Maybe we'll see her in the Rick movies.
I just hope that now that Eugene did accomplish the mission. They put the radio stuff fully charged, ready to go. They mounted it and everything up there, right? Mm-hmm. So they finished that mission. Hopefully by this episode that's on right now or next week, the finale, or mid-season finale that is, they'll have contact with someone. Maybe it's Georgie, maybe it's Commonwealth, maybe it's someone completely new.
Right.
But
maybe it's Morgan.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, who knows, man? He's back. So, any predictions for tonight's episode? Episode 7 of The Walking Dead, Season 9?
Well, they didn't give us much in the preview at all. It was just a little mix of all these new characters being chauffeured by, Michonne and a little bit of Daryl and Carol and Henry. And I think the sneak peek that we saw in the after show was Daryl's like, all right, kid, hold back. I'm going to kill these 7 walkers. Some of them are crawling and stuff, and there's a dog tied to a tree by 3 ropes. So he's trying to free the dog and not get killed himself, and then they kind of cut it short right there. So obviously Henry probably comes in and saves Daryl.
Right.
It's a nice little fun Walker horror scene there.
I don't think they'll completely find out who the Whisperers are or get super close, but I think they'll start investigating.
But at least they'll finally make it to Hilltop.
Do you think they'll make it to Hilltop tonight?
Together. Yeah, because...
Do you think they'll show Maggie tonight?
I don't...
Or will reveal
all I know is it's been Aaron, Jesus,
right,
and Daryl that are actually meeting up and looking at the valley and all of them mulling around. But that might not be tonight's episode. It could be next week's, but it might be today because, that's the whole point. This episode's they get to Hilltop. They finally converge for a long time of not seeing each other.
As far as I would like to see them get the Hilltop for sure. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to turn that on. But yeah, I would like to see them get the Hilltop. I would like to see them kind of start to investigate these whispering walkers. But first, either Eugene or Rosita's got to make it to somebody to let them know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's the big part. All right, so. Final blast here for the night, guys, to kind of finish it off. My final blast, and it just comes down again to Maggie. As much as they did Rick right in the way they did, and how we were kind of pissed on how it could have ended to the point where we may not have even watched the show anymore.
Yeah.
But they did him right. But then we got Maggie. Are they just gonna just shove her to the side, kind of just let her roll off? Even if they just write her off as going to this Georgia thing, that's lazy writing. That's just not even explaining. It's not even giving her a proper send-off because they're not saying, oh, this is Maggie Green's or Maggie's last episode. They're not announcing this kind of thing. They're just going to shove her off. Granted, we know some behind-the-scenes stuff, and I'm sure you guys, if you watch the show, kind of know what's going on with these actors too. But I'm going to be pretty upset if she just kind of gets written off. Especially since they kind of just made us forget that she was even pregnant, and then now she just has her baby Herschel. You're like, okay, that's bad writing. So what's going on here, right? That's my final blast. We got to see what's going on. And at this point, Herschel's going to be older too. So Herschel's going to be...
I didn't even think of that, yeah.
Yeah, so what's going on?
Herschel will be the 6-year-old, maybe 8 years old or something, right? Because, shoot.
Yeah, something
we'll
on
see.
there. Right. So any final blast for you?
Not really, except I want to know if Maggie is still alive and well and in charge and all that jazz. And hopefully that Alden guy that we call Jersey Boy hasn't slipped into her
DMs.
Yeah.
Her direct messages. So thanks for joining us tonight, guys, on The Walker Talkers. Here on PanNerdia, as always. We always have great content on PanNerdia, from the YouTube channel to the Twitch channel. You guys can check me painting live, playing video games, talking with Pete, all sorts of stuff. So we appreciate it, as always. Thank you, Olivia Barnes. Thank you, Platinum Productions, for stopping by. Platinum Productions, go check them out. Release new content pretty regularly. I've seen it almost one a week. Murder Games just came out today. It's a short film from Platinum Productions. Check it out. Horror related. Great little production. I enjoyed it. You guys will too, especially if you're fans of The Walking Dead. So thanks for joining us here on The Walk Talkers again. I am AA Ron.
I'm Pete.
And you guys enjoy tonight's episode.
Enjoy the enjoyment. Enjoy our episodes in the past, as well as the current Walking Dead episode right now, episode 7. Sorry.
And we'll be back for the pre-show before the mid-season finale next week, guys. Prepare yourselves. Peace out.